You know, a lot of people think love is all about fighting for somebody. They'll say, if you really love them, you'll never give up. But let me tell you something. That's not always true. Because sometimes the strongest thing you can ever do for yourself, and even for the other person, is to walk away. See, people confuse holding on with strength, but that's not strength. Real strength is knowing when to say, this ain't healthy for me no more. Now I know what you're thinking. You've done invested time, emotions, maybe years into somebody. You told yourself, I can fix this. I can love them enough to change them. You keep making excuses, keep taking them back, keep ignoring what your spirit been screaming at you. But love ain't supposed to be this painful. Love is supposed to build you, not break you. Let me tell you what I've learned. And I'm speaking straight from experience and wisdom here. There's a difference between loving someone and losing yourself trying to keep them. Some of y'all been holding on so tight to somebody that you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You stop laughing the way you used to. You stop dreaming the way you used to. You're walking on eggshells, just trying to keep the peace. And that's not love. Baby, that's survival. See, when you love somebody, right, you should still feel like you. You shouldn't have to shrink yourself to make them comfortable. You shouldn't have to lower your standards just to keep their attention. Steve Harvey would say, if you got to beg to be seen, if you got to fight to be valued, then you're fighting the wrong battle. Real love ain't something you got to chase. It's something that meets you halfway. I see people every day trying to hold on to situations that are clearly falling apart, trying to glue together broken pieces with their tears. You keep saying, but they'll change. Let me tell you, if you keep waiting on potential, you'll miss out on purpose. God don't want you to live in pain just because you love somebody. He don't want you to sacrifice your peace just to say you got somebody. When you're holding on to something that's destroying you, you're not proving your loyalty, you're ignoring your worth. And sometimes the reason it hurts so much to let go is because you've tied your identity to that person. You forgot that you had a life before them, dreams before them, a purpose before them. You think you can't live without them, but baby, you've been living all your life before they showed up. You were somebody before they came into your story. Don't you ever forget that. Now, here's the realest truth sometimes. Love ends not because it failed, but because it fulfilled its purpose. Maybe that person came into your life to teach you something, to teach you patience, to teach you self-worth, to teach you how to stand on your own. Some relationships aren't meant to last forever. They're meant to awaken you. You can love somebody deeply, but still know that the chapter has closed. You can't force what's fading. You can't beg someone to see your value if they don't want to look. When the connection starts feeling like a burden, when your heart feels heavier than it feels happy, that's your sign. That's your soul telling you it's time to release what's not serving you anymore. Now listen, I ain't saying letting go is easy. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But what's even harder is staying somewhere your spirit no longer fits. You might cry for a while, you might feel lost, but that pain won't last forever. The pain of staying stuck lasts way longer than the pain of letting go. You know, Steve Harvey once said, sometimes God removes people from your life because he heard conversations you didn't. Think about that. You might not understand why something ended right now, but one day you'll look back and realize that breakup, that heartbreak, that goodbye, it saved you. It made space for peace, for growth, for something better. When you hold on to the wrong person, you block the right one from finding you. You can't step into your next blessing while you're still clinging to your last lesson. Some of y'all been praying for new love, new opportunities, new peace. But God can't deliver it because your hands are still full of what he's been trying to take away. You got to let go to grow. Letting go doesn't mean you hate them. It doesn't mean you failed. It means you respect yourself enough to say, I deserve better than this. It's saying, I can love you from afar, but I can't lose myself trying to love you up close. That's growth. That's maturity. That's power. And let me tell you, when you finally find the courage to walk away, that's when your healing begins. At first, you're going to miss them. You're going to want to call. You're going to replay memories. That's normal. But one day you're going to wake up and the weight will feel lighter. The silence will feel peaceful. The reflection in the mirror will start to look familiar again. You'll smile, not because they came back, but because you did. Sometimes love means letting go not because the love is gone, but because the fight for it has started costing you more than it's worth. You can't build happiness on pain. You can't build peace on confusion. If someone truly loves you, they won't put you in a position to lose yourself. So hear me when I say this. Walking away doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It makes you aware. It means you finally realized your heart deserves to rest, not wrestle. You can't keep patching up something that was meant to teach you, not keep you. Some of the best decisions you'll ever make in life will come after the hardest goodbyes. And when you finally close that door, don't look back wishing for what could have been. Look forward to what's about to be. Because the moment you let go of what's breaking you, you open space for what's meant to bless you. But peace is priceless. Don't ever let love cost you your peace. If you got to let go, do it with grace. Cry if you need to, pray if you need to. But don't you ever stay where your soul is dying just because your heart is attached. Real love, the kind that lasts, the kind that heals, it won't require you to lose yourself to keep it. It'll meet you at your best, not at your breaking point. So yeah, sometimes love means letting go. But letting go might just be the most loving thing you can ever do for them and for you. Let me tell you something real. People got the wrong idea about letting go. They think that when you walk away, you stop caring, that you're cold, that you gave up. But that's not true. Sometimes letting go ain't about losing love. It's about finding yourself again. It's about realizing that the same heart you keep giving away deserves to be protected too. See, love is a powerful thing. It'll make you forgive what you shouldn't, stay longer than you planned, and fight battles that ain't even yours to fight. You'll start believing that if you just love them enough, if you just hold on a little longer, things will finally change. But love alone can't fix somebody who ain't ready to meet you halfway. Love alone can't carry a relationship that's one-sided. Steve Harvey would tell you straight, love don't mean you let somebody keep taking from you while you got nothing left to give. You can love somebody and still realize that they ain't treating you right. You can love somebody and still know that staying is breaking you. You can love somebody and still have the courage to walk away. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. You see, loving yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. And some of y'all been surviving off scraps of affection, hoping they'll turn into a meal. You keep giving, hoping they'll finally see your worth. But if someone can't recognize your value when you're giving your all, they won't start recognizing it just because you gave a little more. Sometimes you got to choose you. You got to wake up and say, I love them, but I love me too. And I refuse to keep breaking myself just to keep somebody else comfortable. Letting go doesn't erase the memories. It doesn't delete the feelings. It just means you've learned that love without peace ain't love at all. You can't build your joy on someone else's confusion. You can't depend on someone who only shows up when it's convenient. That's not partnership. That's pain wearing a pretty face. Now, don't get me wrong. When you finally decide to let go, it's going to hurt. You'll have nights where you stare at the ceiling, thinking about what you could have done different. You'll scroll through old pictures, read old messages, and your heart will ache. That's the human part. That's the heart still catching up to what your soul already knows. But with time, that pain starts to turn into peace. You'll start to see that walking away wasn't losing something, it was gaining yourself. See, Steve Harvey always says, you can't keep watering a dead plant and expect it to bloom. Some relationships are like that. You keep pouring your time, your energy, your love, but nothing grows. It's not because you didn't love hard enough. It's because that soil ain't right. You can't make something grow in a place that was never meant to hold you. Love shouldn't require you to abandon yourself. It shouldn't demand that you silence your needs or shrink your spirit just to fit in somebody else's story. That's not love. That's losing yourself in the name of it. When you love yourself, you set the tone for how the world treats you. You show people, this is what I deserve. And if they can't meet that, then you don't chase, you replace with peace, with healing, with growth. Now, I know people will judge you for walking away. They'll say you quit too soon, that you didn't try hard enough. But nobody knows the nights you cried yourself to sleep. Nobody knows the silent prayers you whispered asking for strength. You tried. You gave it your best. But sometimes your best isn't enough to save what's already broken. And that's okay, because you're not supposed to save people. You're supposed to love them, and if it's real, they'll meet you there. Letting go doesn't mean you stop loving them. It just means you started realizing that your love deserves to come back home, back to you, to the one who's been giving without receiving, to the one who's been strong for everyone else but forgot how to be strong for themselves. You've been pouring from an empty cup for too long. It's time to refill it. Now let me tell you something. The moment you start loving yourself the way you love them, that's when everything changes. You'll stop begging for closure because you'll realize peace is closure. You'll stop waiting for an apology because you'll learn that your healing doesn't depend on their remorse. You'll stop replaying old memories because you'll finally understand that what's meant for you will never require you to lose your self-respect to keep it. Sometimes the most powerful kind of love is the love you give yourself after you've been broken, because that's the love that rebuilds you. That's the love that reminds you you are enough, even when they couldn't see it. When you let go, it's not about walking away in anger. It's about walking away with grace. It's saying, I wish you well, but I'm done hurting myself trying to love you. It's choosing to protect your peace, your purpose, and your future. You can love them and still know that their chapter in your story has ended. That doesn't make you heartless. That makes you human. Steve always talks about seasons. He says, everybody who comes into your life ain't meant to stay forever. Some people are just lessons, not life partners. Some teach you patience, some teach you pain, and some teach you peace through their absence. Letting go is part of growing up. It's realizing that love doesn't mean holding on at any cost. It means recognizing when the cost has become too high. And here's the beautiful thing. When you start loving yourself, you'll attract love that feels different. You'll attract peace. You'll attract consistency. You'll attract someone who sees you clearly and values you completely. But that only happens when you stop settling for the kind of love that keeps you questioning your worth. So don't feel guilty for walking away. Don't feel ashamed for choosing yourself. You're not giving up. You're growing up. You're realizing that love without respect, without peace, without effort isn't the kind of love you want anymore. You can love them, miss them, even wish things were different, and still know that you're doing the right thing by letting go. Because loving yourself means you stop trying to force what's not meant to fit. You stop chasing people who only meet you halfway. You stop settling for half love when your heart was built for whole love. So hear me when I say this, letting go doesn't mean the love disappears. It just means you finally learn to love yourself enough to stop accepting less than you deserve. You're not losing a person. You're gaining your peace, your confidence, your strength, and your freedom. And when you look back one day, you'll thank yourself for having the courage to choose you. You'll realize that was never the end of your story. It was the beginning of your healing. Because sometimes the most powerful love you'll ever experience is the love you find when you finally stop chasing them and start choosing you. You ever notice how the deepest pain in your life usually comes from the people you cared about the most? The ones you gave your best to, the ones you trusted with your heart. That's because love, real love, ain't just about the butterflies and the happy endings. Sometimes love comes wrapped in lessons. Sometimes love hurts, not because it's bad, but because it's trying to teach you something your heart wouldn't have learned any other way. See, people always talk about how beautiful love is. And don't get me wrong, it is beautiful. But Steve Harvey would tell you, love ain't just smiles and sunsets. Sometimes it's tears and tough decisions. You can't really understand what healthy love feels like until you've survived the kind that broke you. You can't appreciate peace until you've experienced pain. And sometimes that pain is what wakes you up. We live in a world that tells us to chase the fairy tale, that love should always feel good, that if it hurts, it must be wrong. But that's not true. Sometimes the hurt is what grows you. The hurt is what reveals your boundaries, your worth, and your strength. Because it's through the pain that you finally realize this is what I will never accept again. You might have loved somebody who didn't love you the same way. You might have poured yourself into someone who only gave you half back. And that hurts. Oh, it hurts deep. You start questioning yourself, wondering what's wrong with you, wondering why you weren't enough. But hear me, the lesson ain't about you not being enough. It's about you realizing that not everyone is meant to hold the kind of love you give. Steve Harvey says it like this: everybody who crosses your path is not meant to walk your journey. Some people come into your life just to show you what love is not. They'll show you how neglect feels so that when someone finally shows up and gives you consistency, you'll appreciate it. They'll show you how dishonesty feels so that when truth shows up, you'll recognize it instantly. That heartbreak you went through, that wasn't a punishment, that was preparation. It's building something in you. Every tear you cried, every moment you felt lost, every time you said, I can't take this anymore, it was molding you into a version of yourself that's stronger, wiser, and far more aware of your value. Sometimes love hurts because it's revealing the truth, that what you thought was love really wasn't. You thought love was constant sacrifice, constant fixing, constant proving. But that wasn't love, that was attachment. That was fear of being alone. That was your heart chasing what your spirit already outgrew. It's painful, yeah, but growth always comes with pain. The truth always stings before it sets you free. You can't evolve in comfort, and sometimes love will hurt you just enough to wake you up to the fact that you deserve better. Think about it. The first time you touched something hot, it burned you. You learned real quick not to touch it again. The same goes for love. The pain teaches you boundaries. It teaches you self-respect. It teaches you the difference between someone who wants you and someone who values you. Between someone who says, I love you, and someone who shows it. See, Steve Harvey always talks about the importance of discernment, knowing the difference between something meant to grow you and something meant to stay with you. And that's what heartbreak does. It sharpens your discernment. It teaches you to listen to your intuition. It helps you spot red flags before they turn into regrets. And I know right now you might not see it. You might still be in that phase where everything hurts, where you're trying to understand how something that felt so real ended so wrong. But one day, you're going to look back and say, that pain was my teacher. You'll realize that without it, you'd still be accepting less than you deserve. You'd still be confusing struggle for loyalty. Sometimes love hurts because it's stretching your capacity to receive something greater. The heartbreaks break open your heart. They don't destroy it. They make room. They make space for the kind of love that won't ask you to beg, won't make you doubt, won't leave you empty. The love that heals you is the reward for the love that hurt you. And let's be real. When you're in it, when your heart is bleeding, that's the hardest thing to believe. You feel like you'll never smile again. You feel like nobody could ever love you like that person did. But here's the truth. They didn't love you like that. They loved you as much as they were capable of. And sometimes their capacity was limited. You were trying to teach someone how to love you while they were still learning how to love themselves. That's why the pain feels unfair. but it's necessary. Because through that pain, you discover how you want to be loved and how you should never be loved again. Let me tell you something else Steve always says. You can't get to your blessing if you keep holding on to your burden. Some of that pain you're carrying is old love that's overstayed its season. It served its purpose. Now it's time to release it. It's time to say, thank you for the lesson, but I'm done with the suffering. Pain turns into wisdom when you stop resisting it. That's when you realize that love shouldn't feel like losing yourself. Love shouldn't feel like walking on eggshells. Love shouldn't hurt more than it heals. The right love, the one that's coming, it won't confuse you. It won't make you question your worth. It'll meet you at peace. But to recognize that love, you got to learn from the one that hurt you. Because if you skip the lesson, you repeat the pain. Sometimes love hurts because it's detoxing you from the version of yourself that tolerated too much. It's cleaning out all the false beliefs, like thinking you had to earn love or that you had to settle to keep someone around. No, baby, love that's real doesn't need convincing. It doesn't need chasing. It just flows. So the next time you look back on that person who broke your heart, don't just see the pain, see the purpose. They taught you how to spot red flags, how to listen to your gut, how to love yourself louder. They taught you what not to accept. That's the gift hidden in the heartbreak. You'll reach a point where the pain becomes gratitude, where you can say, thank you for hurting me. Because if you hadn't, I'd still be stuck thinking that was love. And that's what Steve Harvey would call a turning point. That's when you stop being a victim of love and start becoming a student of it. You stop saying, why did this happen to me? And start saying, what did this teach me? So yeah, sometimes love hurts, but only because it's shaping you for the kind of love that won't. It's preparing you for peace, not chaos, for stability, not confusion, for partnership, not one day when the real thing shows up. The kind of love that feels easy, that feels safe, that feels like home. You'll finally understand why the other ones didn't work out. You'll smile and say, now I get it. I had to go through that to recognize this. So if your heart's hurting right now, don't lose hope. That pain isn't the end of your story. It's the chapter before the breakthrough. Keep going, keep healing, keep learning. Because sometimes love hurts, not to destroy you, but to prepare you for the kind that never will. Let me tell you something that's going to sting a little. Sometimes the reason your blessing hasn't shown up yet is because you're still holding on to what's blocking it. You're praying for the right one, but your heart's still occupied by the wrong one. You're asking God to send you a king or a queen, but you ain't cleared the throne. See, what most people don't realize is that love takes space, emotional, mental, spiritual space. You can't make room for the right person if you're still entertaining the wrong person out of comfort or fear. Steve Harvey always says, you can't receive new blessings with your hands full of old baggage. You got to let go of what's draining you if you ever want to hold on to what's meant to sustain you. Now, I know letting go ain't easy. It's not like flipping a switch. You got history, memories, moments that still play in your head like reruns. But ask yourself, is that history worth your happiness? Is that comfort worth your peace? Because what's familiar ain't always what's right. Some of y'all still stuck on people who've already shown you they ain't willing to grow with you. You keep trying to repaint red flags into love stories. You keep making excuses for behavior that keeps breaking your heart. Listen, I get it. You love them. You saw potential. You believed in what could be. But Steve would tell you, you can't fall in love with potential. You got to love reality. And reality is this: when you hold on to what's not growing, you start shrinking. You start settling. You start confusing loneliness with loyalty. You keep saying, but what if I never find somebody else like them? Baby, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to find better. You're supposed to find peace that doesn't make you cry yourself to sleep. You're supposed to find love that doesn't make you question your worth every other day. But you'll never get there if you keep standing at the door God already closed. Think about it. How can the right person recognize you when you're still dimming your light for the wrong one? How can the person who's meant for you even see your heart when it's still chained to someone who mishandled it? Sometimes God ain't delaying your blessing. You are. Because he won't bring the right one into a situation where confusion still lives. Steve always says, when you let go of the wrong one, you make room for the right one to find you. But that's the catch. You got to trust the process. You got to believe that the pain of letting go will never outweigh the peace of moving on. You got to understand that being alone for a season is better than being broken for a lifetime. Too many people stay stuck because they fear the unknown. You're afraid to start over. You're afraid of that empty space where they used to be. But that space ain't empty. It's sacred. That's where healing happens. That's where God refills you, rebuilds you, and prepares you for the love that won't hurt. The truth is, sometimes you got to clear the clutter to receive the blessing. And that clutter can be a person, a pattern, or even a mindset. You can't meet the right one while you're still checking your phone for the wrong one's text. You can't expect loyalty from someone who only shows up when they're bored. You can't keep sowing energy into what's not feeding your spirit. And you know what's crazy? Sometimes the person you're holding on to is praying for something better too, just not with you. That's why it feels like a constant tug of war, but both holding on out of fear, not faith. But love that's meant to last doesn't feel like pulling teeth. It flows, it fits, it brings peace, not pressure. Now let me get real for a minute. You ever notice how the wrong person always knows when you're about to move on? That's when they start texting again. That's when they start remembering your worth. But that's not love, that's control. That's them trying to keep you where they can reach you just in case. Steve would say, stop being somebody's backup plan while you're praying to be somebody's priority. The right one can't show up in confusion. They come into clarity. They come when you've made peace with the past. They come when you've learned your lessons and stopped repeating your mistakes. Because God don't send blessings to messy situations. He waits for you to clean house first. Some of you are delaying your destiny because you're trying to carry dead weight into a new season. You can't take everybody with you. Some people were only meant to teach you how to love, how to hurt, how to heal, not how to stay. When that lesson is learned, it's time to release it. Holding on to the wrong person blocks the right one, not just emotionally, but spiritually. When your energy is tied up in pain, you can't even see what's good for you. You start pushing away people who could love you right because you're still busy defending the one who didn't. You start thinking that chaos is normal. That inconsistency is passion. But no, that's dysfunction disguised as devotion. You deserve steady love, consistent love, the kind of love that shows up without you having to beg for it, the kind of love that doesn't confuse you or compete with your peace. And until you believe you deserve that, you'll keep accepting less. So here's what you got to do. Stop trying to fix what broke you. Stop romanticizing what hurt you. Stop replaying the good times while ignoring the truth that those good times couldn't outweigh the pain. It's time to close that chapter. Because every time you reopen a wound, you delay your healing. When you finally decide to let go, really let go, something powerful happens. You start feeling lighter. You start sleeping better. You start seeing yourself again. Not the version that was desperate to be loved, but the version that knows she or he is loved. That's when the universe starts rearranging itself to bring the right people into your life. And let me tell you something, the right one will never make you beg for clarity. They won't make you chase consistency. They'll match your energy. They'll add to your peace, not compete with it. But they can't find you while you're still stuck in confusion with someone who doesn't even know what they want. You got to trust that what's meant for you won't pass you by. But it also won't fight for attention in a place that's not welcome. Sometimes God is just waiting for you to say, I'm done holding on to what hurts, before he says, now let me show you what's real. So if you're holding on to someone who's already let go, stop. Stop trying to convince them to see your worth. The right person will see it instantly. Stop replaying old love stories. They already ended. Start preparing your heart for a new one. Because when you finally release what's not meant for you, that's when everything shifts. That's when peace walks in. That's when joy comes back. And that's when love, real love, finally finds you. Remember this, you can't meet the right one while your heart is still protecting the wrong one. So do yourself a favor. Open your hands, let go, and trust that what's coming will feel nothing like what you had to release. Because what's ahead of you will always be greater than what you left behind. Let me tell you something about real love. Real love doesn't walk out on you. It doesn't vanish when things get tough. Real love stands tall in the storm, it fights through the chaos, and it shows up even when feelings fade for a moment. But sometimes you gotta walk away, not because the love is gone, but because you are getting lost. People often confuse walking away with giving up. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes walking away is the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for the other person. Steve Harvey once said, love is not about how long you can hold on. It's about how much you grow while holding on. And sometimes the only way to grow is to let go for a while. See, when love starts turning into pain, when connection turns into confusion, when your louder starts sounding like effort, that's a sign. Not always that love is dead, but that something's broken. And too many people stay because they believe leaving means failure. But the truth is, staying in a situation where you're no longer growing is what really breaks you. Real love, the kind that changes you, the kind that heals you, sometimes requires space. Because love without boundaries becomes chaos. You start losing sight of who you are trying to keep someone else happy. You start lowering your standards just to keep the peace. You start sacrificing your joy to maintain an image of togetherness. And before you know it, you wake up one day realizing you've been trying to love someone who's not even meeting you halfway. Now, I'm not talking about walking out at the first sign of a disagreement. Every relationship hits rough patches. But there's a difference between a season of struggle and a cycle of suffering. Steve always says, if it keeps breaking, it's not building you. And love, true love, should build. It should strengthen you, stretch you, and challenge you. But it should never destroy your peace. Sometimes you have to leave so that both of you can find yourselves again. Because if you keep staying in something that's draining your soul, you're teaching that person that it's okay to love you halfway. You're teaching them that your boundaries don't matter. You're teaching them that they can keep giving less while you keep carrying more. And that's not love, that's imbalance. Leaving isn't always the end. Sometimes it's the reset button love needs. When you step back, you give both hearts room to breathe. You give both people a chance to reflect, to mature, to grow separately. And maybe, just maybe, that growth brings you back stronger, wiser, and more aligned. But you'll never know that if you're too afraid to step away. We live in a world where people glorify staying no matter what. They tell you that love means holding on till your hands bleed. But that's not love. That's fear dressed up as loyalty. Real love isn't afraid of distance. It isn't afraid of time apart. Because when something is real, it doesn't need to be chained down to stay connected. Sometimes walking away is an act of faith in what you built. It's saying, I believe in us enough to take this space. I believe that if it's meant, it will find its way back. Because love that's real doesn't disappear. It evolves. It goes through seasons. It may leave for a while, but it never leaves empty. It leaves to rebuild. You ever noticed how sometimes after a breakup, you finally start seeing clearly? You start realizing what went wrong, what you tolerated, what you lost in yourself. You start healing in ways you didn't even know you needed. That's not a coincidence. That's clarity. And clarity often only comes in silence. Steve Harvey always says, you can't fix what's broken while you're standing in the mess pretending it's fine. Sometimes you got to step away to see it for what it is. Love can cloud your vision. You can get so focused on keeping someone that you forget to keep yourself. But when you step away, when you stop chasing, that's when you start seeing what's really there. If the love was real, it won't die. It'll transform. Maybe it'll come back in a healthier way. Maybe it'll teach you what to do differently next time. Maybe it'll prepare you for the kind of love that won't ever make you question your worth. Either way, you don't lose in love when you leave with peace. You lose when you stay and abandon yourself. And listen, sometimes the person you love needs to lose you to learn your value. Some people don't wake up until the silence gets loud. They don't see what they had until it's no longer there. And if that's what it takes for them to grow, let it be. Don't chase validation from someone who couldn't see your worth when you were giving them everything. Walking away doesn't mean you stop loving them. It means you love yourself enough to choose peace. It means you're no longer willing to beg for the bare minimum. It means you understand that love shouldn't cost you your dignity. That's not weakness, that's strength wrapped in wisdom. Now, if that person is meant for you, life has a funny way of bringing y'all back around. Not because of fate or luck, but because two people who've grown will always recognize each other again. The difference is, next time, you'll both know how to love better. You'll both appreciate what you almost lost. And that's the kind of love that lasts. The love that's been tested, separated, and strengthened through time. But if it doesn't come back, then let that be your answer. Because real love never leaves without purpose. It either comes back renewed or it teaches you what real love should feel like so you don't settle again. Either way, you win. Love isn't about possession. It's about presence. It's about showing up, growing together, and when necessary, stepping back so that both people can breathe again. Real love won't vanish because of distance. It won't fade because of silence. It might shift, it might change shape, but it never disappears. You got to trust that when you do what's right for your soul, love will meet you where peace lies. And if peace isn't there, it's not love, it's attachment. So if you're at that crossroad right now, your heart heavy, your mind torn between staying and leaving, hear me, it's okay to choose you. It's okay to walk away from what's breaking you, even if your heart still loves them. Because one day you'll look back and realize that leaving wasn't the end of love. It was the beginning of self-respect. And that's when real love, the kind that doesn't compete with your peace, will finally find its way back to you. Maybe through them, maybe through someone new. But it will come because love that's meant for you will never require you to lose yourself to keep it. Sometimes love means holding on. Sometimes love means fighting through the storm. But sometimes love means letting go so that it can find you again